What is going on, Peep Squad? This video is about Superman and Lois episode 3, entitled The Perks of Not Being a Wallflower. And that is a reference to the book and movie. I believe both were written by Stephen Chbosky. I'm not sure how you say that last name, but I tried to watch the movie a couple of times, but it was really depressing, and so I couldn't make it through. I heard it was really good, but I couldn't make it through. Anyway, yeah, this episode is probably my favorite so far. It's more focused on the drama. That's possibly why they called it The Perks of Not Being a Wallflower, because it's more, that is a coming-of-age drama, and this is more focused on the drama of the family dynamic, not only of Superman's family, but also Lara as well. Lana, not Lara. Lana and, I don't remember her husband's name, but her daughter's name is Sarah, I believe. But yeah, I really enjoyed it. There's not a whole much focus on the action as in last week's episode, but I don't mind that. But anyway, let's jump into it. So the episode starts out with Superman providing the beginning of Final Destination 5 with the bridge collapsing, and all of this scene does look really good. There are a couple shots, specifically the guy on the boat, that are just kind of look like they're out of a student film. We go to the Kent farm in Smallville, and they are painting a room, and it kind of turns into just a whole, everyone's painting each other and stuff, and it's kind of a fun family moment. And this is juxtaposed with the next scene where we get Sarah and Lana and the husband, I don't remember his name. They're in the car, and they are not having a happy family moment. Let's just say that. There was a line in episode 1 where it talks about how Sarah just took a bunch of pills, and I think it was that happened a year before the show starts, and so she's going to therapy and stuff, and there's just a lot of tension in that family unit. One thing I like about this episode, this is more focused on the kids, Jordan and Jonathan, as opposed to last week was not as much on there, so I like that new angle. So Jordan is at school, he's trying to hang out with Sarah, but the boyfriend, I believe his name is Carter. Sean, his name is Sean, not Carter. The boyfriend Sean's like, yeah, don't do that, and he starts being mean to Jordan, but then Superman shows up, he's like, don't do that, and then he doesn't. But Jordan's upset because he was listening in on him. And then, so Jordan wants to join the football team because he wants to show Sean what's up. And Superman's like, no, do that because you have powers, not a whole lot of powers, but there's some kind of powers going on. And he's like, but Jonathan's like, no, you should let him do that because it's actually good for him, because he's like has depression and stuff. It's like you should let him do football. So he does, and it turns out he's very good at football because he does have a little residual superpowers from his dad. We see he does have super strength because he sends people flying when he plays football. Like he runs into them and they just go shooting backwards, which is a little crazy. Then continuing, this is later on in the episode, but I'm going to just kind of talk about the kids, and I'm going to talk about Lois, then I'm going to talk about Superman. But so Clark's like, well, I'm going to join the team as an assistant coach, and I really like this shot where he's pretending that the water carrier is really heavy, and he's like, oh, this is so heavy, pretend to help me and stuff. It was really fun. I think that's it with no, so Sarah does break up with Sean, and she's probably going to start dating Jordan in the near future. Anyway, the next big thing going on in this episode is Lois Lane. She was working with, at the end of the last episode, she was working with the Smallville Gazette. She's trying to get some leads on Morgan Edge, and she comes across this one woman, Powell is her last name, and her son volunteered to work for Morgan Edge. He thought it was a mining thing in some other town, but it turns out it maybe wasn't, and so she has this voicemail of him like, this isn't what I thought it was, and if you never hear from me again, I love you, bye. That's pretty much what he said on the voicemail. And the mom's really upset, but also drunk, and so the editor lady's like, yeah, we shouldn't really build a whole story on this one drunk woman's testimony. So Lois goes ahead and interviews her anyway, and then they leave and they find out that Lois' car's exploded, and so they're like, well, this is probably a good lead if your car just randomly exploded. So then she meets back up with somebody. I wasn't totally sure if this was Powell or some other woman, but she's trying to meet with her in a hotel, and she gets attacked by someone with superpowers similar to Superman, which is interesting. And then so Superman shows up and he fights him, and then the guy leaves. And this brings us to the end of the episode, and that is the final shot where the guy that Superman and Lois were fighting in the hotel room is driving away. He's like, we need someone to clean this up because, well, what was his exact line? Yeah, he's like, we need to clean up this incident. And then this woman, which Wikipedia tells me is Lisi Lar, appears in the road and shoots the man with laser vision. She calls up Morgan and tells him, I will call a team. So, I'm not really sure what this is. I think what's happening is that Morgan Edge is taking people from small towns and experimenting on them and potentially giving them superpowers. And so what that means for the series going forward is I think that this will be a way to introduce Connor Kent, Superboy. So, for those of you who don't know, in the comics there are three main Superboys. There's obviously John, who's in the show. Connor, who is a clone of Superman. We saw him in Young Justice as well as the Titans. And then there's Superboy Prime, which is an evil version of Clark. He doesn't really show up all that much, but whatever. And so Connor Kent is a clone of Superman. And so when they announced the show, they said there were going to be two sons of Superman. So I figured, it's probably going to be John and Connor, but it turns out it's John and Jordan. And so I was like, well, why did they make a new character? And so I'm thinking, and then this show happens, and at the end, these people have superpowers. And so I'm thinking, well, they're probably going to introduce Connor Kent as a son, as like not a son, but as like some competition for John and Jordan, because they don't really have any powers, but this other guy, who's not a son of Superman, does, because he was experimented on. And so I think that's going to kind of introduce some conflict into that storyline. That's what I think is going on. But comment down below with what you think is going to happen, and make sure to like and subscribe, and I will see you next time. Peace out.